Welcome everybody to today's webinar, Using Technology to Save Time and Money, the Business Training Experiences of LearnDirect. My name is Elizabeth Eyre. I'm the editor of Training Journal and I will be moderating today's event. Our speaker is Gavin Bridge, Business Development Manager at LearnDirect, who will be explaining how you can overcome the various barriers to technology-supported learning that exist within organisations to ensure its success. So how today's webinar will work: everyone needs to have dialed in either on their telephone using the phone number, access code and audio pin details, or via a headset plugged into their computers. If you don't want to ask a question over the line, any headphones will do. If you can't hear me talking, you need to make sure you've done this. If you have a question, either raise your hand and we will take it verbally, or type a question in the box and we will try to answer it. Now please take a moment to read this slide explaining how to use your control panel. We're also recording the webinar and we'll send it out to you afterwards. Now we'll hand you over to Gavin. Enjoy your webinar.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, thank you for registering and joining this webinar. Like Elizabeth said, I'm Gavin Bridge. Bear with me, I'll just load my slide. I'm Gavin Bridge and I'm going to be taking you through today's session. I have quite a long time in the sector. I've worked with LearnDirect since the very beginning, back in 1998. Started there and worked at centre level first, to actually have first-hand experience in delivering e-learning and the challenges that it's faced. To actually now I work at head office and sort of as a business development manager, promoting e-learning with companies and with providers around the country. For those of you that don't know about LearnDirect, it was originally set up in 1998 and we launched a centre network in 2000, and they cover all of England and Wales, and we still have a very strong centre network of around 450 centres covering the whole of England. Our sort of mentality is to help to use technology to help people learn new skills at all levels across the spectrum. It includes e-learning with face support across the network, or remotely via our service centre. We do a lot of support for businesses via our service centre, individuals whereby learners can enrol on courses solely online and actually learn through and be supported through our professional staff in the service centre based in Leicester, and that opened in around 2010. We offer a large range of courses ranging from English, maths, which are our sort of special area, to speciality area, to business-specific courses and compliance courses, to sort of a whole range. And we work with around 150,000 people do a course with us each year. The session that I'm going to go through today will sort of concentrate on three main areas. We're looking at why companies should consider using technology, what are the barriers holding them back, and you'll have probably heard a number of barriers and come across them, and what have LearnDirect done to overcome these. And I'll share some sort of recent examples and sort of examples of how we have got around these issues, and what LearnDirect has learned through engaging and motivating over 3.5 million people, both those that are in work and working with employers, and those that are sort of out of work through our centre network and various other means. So that's the sort of main topic of conversation throughout the session. I'll start off with a bit of context. Obviously at the moment training is probably not top of many businesses' agenda. Times are tough, the economy is sort of suffering, there's low investment and weak growth, and I think it was quoted last week for around 1% was the latest figure. Unemployment, although it's starting to decrease slightly, it's still particularly high amongst young people, and it's around about 1 million that are still unemployed. And just this week on Wednesday, I think figures showed as many as 1 in 10 workers as underemployed, i.e. they would like to work more hours than they currently do. So they're the sort of challenges that we're sort of facing at the moment, and we'll start to look at how we sort of overcome them and sort of as we go through. So looking at the use of technology, I think, is the first thing we'll concentrate on. The case for training has been made numerous times, and again we're talking to people that are visitors of the Training Journal site, so everyone will have sort of rehearsed these arguments many times. However, I think us at LearnDirect believe that the case for training using technology has not been made enough, or certainly strongly enough. We are obviously advocates of it and have been since we started back in 2000, or back in '98, sorry. But we want to get it into, whether it's in schools or colleges, whether it's formal or informal learning, or even in the workplace. And obviously the workplace is one of the key areas we want to look at. The evidence for change is clear, and we believe we need to communicate this regularly and rigorously. And there's been a recently released research paper from Towards Maturity, which is worth digging out, or my contact details are on the end of this presentation, so if you want me to send you it. There's a whole host of research that's been done that really shows bottom line quantifiable impacts and shows how what we're about to discuss is sort of covered in there. So it's definitely worth digging out, and like I said, if you want to contact me afterwards, I'm happy to send you that.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Gavin, thank you. So given all of the benefits of technology, and I think they're kind of well set out in the Towards Maturity research that you've just mentioned,
yeah.
Why do you think it is that the message isn't getting through? And also, what do you think that L&D professionals can do to actually try and get that message through to employers?
And timely question, because I think that's what I'm going to come on to in a moment, but I think there's a few different reasons for that, and I think the main one being understanding. I think understanding the technology that's out there and the courses and the content that's available, and it's about everyone buying into it. The issue that we find is there may be 1 or 2 people in a company that really want to, let's look at e-learning, let's sort of implement this in our company, but then there'll be people that are blocking it, and I think it needs some kind of, or everyone, a workshop or something where everyone can get involved and everyone can sort of really look at the benefits and look at the reasons why we can use e-learning in their provider or their company.
Yeah. Do you think that's maybe a generational thing to some extent? Might change as, Generation Y or Generation Z, I should say, come up through the ranks within organisations? Maybe.
I mean, we're starting to notice a shift that we're sort of things are being developed now, such as things for iPads, there's apps, there's lots of different things, and obviously the younger generation are coming through and using these from very early on, so the technology side of things is less of an issue, and it's more the fact that, well, we use this every day, why wouldn't we learn like this? But I don't think that stops the older generation getting involved, because I do think and it may be that it's a very much a blended approach, but it is about mentality, it is about people buying into it, but things have changed from early doors with e-learning, and we'll cover that as we start to go through the presentation.
Right. Thank you.
So we'll talk about some of the barriers now. And so there's a whole host of benefits, and we'll try and cover these as we go through. There's real measurable bottom line benefits. So really the question is, why are companies holding back? What are the barriers? And like I said, I'll refer to this a number of times, but it is worth a read. The Towards Maturity research does confirm that there are 4 main reasons why learning and technology is not as good as it could be or indeed should be. And the 3 main factors of them is learning development, staff and management, technology, the content that's available, whether it's specific content or whether it's too generic, and at the end of the day, the learners or the employees that are going to be using this technology and this e-learning way. So we'll go through these and we'll talk about these, but the first one of which relates to the L&D staff and management in general. And I think the key question to sort of ask of them or ask of yourself is, are they or are you confident to talk about the use of learning technologies? And if the answer is no, then you're not going to be able to empower that across your staff and sort of for your staff or for your learners to sort of buy into it. So I think it's about ensuring that the L&D staff and the management all understand that actually this is a good way of learning. There is benefits. We can do a blended approach. It's not all or nothing, and it's getting them understanding from the start. So the L&D staff and management, I think the key thing is buy-in from everyone. And we'll talk a bit about how we've overcome them issues later on. And it's about sort of involving everyone and making sure that the right people are there when you're making decisions about what sort of content to buy and is it fit for us. And just because if you go out there, there's obviously we deliver e-learning, but we're not the only company that are delivering e-learning. There's lots of different things out there that people can use. So, I mean, obviously won't surprise you that we are spending time communicating the benefits, and today is one of them times that we are really trying to be an advocate for e-learning. And when we launched in 2000, it was launched with huge scepticism, really, of the fact that what we're trying to do, and there was a whole number of people that were saying this isn't going to work and people can't learn like this. And obviously it's been proved over the years that people can learn like this. But obviously it's evolved in terms of where we were, and apps are being added, and there's video content and multimedia is blown up, and everyone's sort of using that in different ways of doing it. But over a decade on, and technology's everywhere. People of all ages are using it. There's, people are searching for information, whether it's on the web, whether it's messaging friends, or even organising their lives. And I mean, my mum is actually a prime example of this. She's recently got an iPad, and I can honestly say it's changed her life. She's using it for Facebook, for contacting family members. She's ordering stuff online. There's emails around in my inbox that I never got from her. So technology is now being sort of made better use of, and I think the time is right for a real change, and we certainly believe, and we believe for a long time, but that the barrier will disappear over the next few years. I'll move on to technology, because many companies do cite the problems with technology, and I believe that this is probably one of our biggest barriers when we're starting to look at working with employers. And there's a couple of questions that come up in terms of the technology, and one is access, and are there enough terminals for people to learn at? Can people get access to the machines? And the other one is obviously availability, is the fact that there might be allocated a set amount of time to do some e-learning, but realistically the nature of the job means that they're pulled out of that learning and given the amount of time to actually look at it.
Where would bring your own device fit into that, Gavin? Is that a big barrier for a lot of organisations as well?
Bring your own device is something that we're looking at internally as well as sort of bring your own device is a sort of great thing in the fact that people can bring in their laptops, smartphones, and access it via the company. And we're certainly looking at moving all our machines to sort of a bring your own device. Now, obviously that does come with issues, and your infrastructure or the company's setup in the office needs to be the fact that it accepts them devices. And currently, ours wouldn't support a number of them, but it is definitely something everyone's moving to. I mean, the launch of the iPad has meant that the majority of Shockwave and all the technical plugins that people are using are now looking at different ways because they actually won't work on an iPad or a smartphone, or certain smartphones, should we say. There's a massive change, and all apps we talked about a moment ago is the fact that people are, there's different ways of learning. There's short, sharp things, there's long programs of learning, but the bring your own device thing is a real game changer, and I really hope that continues to move in the pace that it is, and I certainly welcome the fact that I could use my own machine at work. And again, bring your own device causes issues when you have things like firewalls, when you have things like lockdown, Wi-Fi that you can't access unless you're on a corporate laptop is what there's some of the issues, and that is a massive barrier to learning. If people are used to using their own laptop, know how everything works on it, they can pretty much get to where they need to be. Obviously, there's still elements that they need to be shown how to use things, but knowing your own device is certainly a positive thing, and being able to do. Obviously, certain machines have restrictions, websites are blocked, social media's blocked, lots and lots of things. Companies are moving to the fact that they are loosening that grip, I suppose, on that technology. And recently we've started, well, recently over the last year or so, we've used Communicator, and we actually talk to staff internally, and it's amazing how quickly you can get an answer to something by a quick message on a screen rather than a 20-minute call. So definitely the technology is a barrier, but it really shouldn't be, and it's overcoming these ones, and it is about working with your IT department, and I think we'll talk about it in a moment, but basically making sure that if you are looking at buying content or buying things, make sure that your IT department are either there or aware of the things that you're looking at. I mean, ideally you want them there, because then when they start talking technical about SCORMs, or it does this and it clicks to this and you need this plugin and that plugin, they will understand that, and it means there's a more seamless inclusion of your e-learning package. So do involve your IT department when you're looking at purchasing content, and just let them understand and let them take that burden of the IT issues off you. So technology is a big barrier, but it can be overcome by involving the right people. The next barrier we'll look at is learning content, and many companies remain unconvinced by both the content and the methodology of learning. And the Towards Maturity report does confirm that companies have had poor experiences in the past, and many companies say that the content is too generic or lacks relevance to their staff. And certain courses are like that, and I think historically that is the case with a lot of courses. What you'll find now, and what LearnDirect is really trying to do, is move away from content creation and look at more content curation. So yes, we are still developing courses that will teach the underpinning knowledge for your maths, your English, and the business skills that you may need, but we are also looking to our users of our content to actually develop their own content, to create videos, to develop multimedia, to use podcasts, and to use a whole host of different things that can be shared with other learners and can really promote that social learning and drive them changes and around the learner experience. And one thing I would say with the content is look at suppliers. There isn't just one or two suppliers out there that offer content. There are hundreds of suppliers. We're obviously one of them, and we offer a whole host of it. What I would say is try out the content yourself. Ask for a trial. We offer trials, and you'll find that some people will take up it after the trial. Others will begin to look elsewhere. But don't be afraid to say, can I have a trial of this? Because it may well be that out of the 3 trials, 2 of them aren't aren't what your company needs, then actually would be a waste of time purchasing. So there's a whole host of suppliers out there. Don't be afraid to ask for trials. Don't be afraid to get them to come in and do a presentation about their benefits and the reason why to use their software or their learner management system, because it's about what best suits you and best suits your learners and company. We have a question?
Yes, Gavin, we do. We've got a question from Paul, who would like to know how many attendees you would recommend on a normal session of e-learning.
So, again, it depends on what type of e-learning we'd be looking at here. So, if it was a webinar like this, then it would also depend on what you're covering. So, it may well be if you're doing a webinar and you're sharing some information, then you can do it to a larger group. If it's an individual that's struggling on a certain area, say percentages or something, then it may be that a one-to-one works best. But similarly, if you've got 10 learners that are all struggling with percentages, then you can pull them into a session to sort of go through it via a webinar like we're using now, or via a voice call or something to talk it through. And I think it's really about supporting the learner. E-learning, obviously, the joy of e-learning is it does a lot of the support for you. It does the underpinning knowledge, it checks knowledge and understanding, but you still need that support network around the learner and or employee. So it's about a mixture, and unfortunately it's not one mould fits all because every learner is different. But if you was doing a group and you was covering a certain area, I mean, we sort of worked with, in our service centre, depending on the level, and again, an entry-level learner, you would probably do less in a group. Whereas a level 2, you might be able to actually put 10 in a group, talk about percentages, and get people interacting. It's about the level of the learner as well as the sort of the course that they're doing. So I hope that answers your question. I haven't given you a set answer, but I would say if it was a group session and you were covering a topic where you were expecting people to interact, we sort of worked at 10 as a sort of maximum. But if it's just sharing information, then you can sort of upwards of there's sort of no real limits. Obviously, the more questions that you get, you just have to allow for them in your sessions. But certainly, the e-learning side of things, it may well be that you pick up progress reviews after they've done e-learning and really just monitor their progress. So we've talked about learning content, and I'll move on to the barrier being the learner themselves, and often cited as the biggest issue. Many companies have tried, and we've worked with a number that have tried and failed to implement learning technologies because of lack of interest or lack of buy-in or even lack of understanding from the people that they're trying to put through it, whether it's employees or learners. And the Towards Maturity survey found that half of businesses reported that their staff were reluctant to learn using technologies, and that 40% of companies said they felt they didn't have the necessary IT skills to learn that way. And that's a big one, is the perception that you need to be at level 5 in IT to actually use an e-learning course. And that's certainly not the case. It's certainly not the case with our e-learning and the majority of them out there. Yes, they need to be shown around and shown how to use it, but that's the case with anything. Whether you're showing them how to go, showing them a new procedure at work, or there's a new form that needs completing. People need to be shown what goes where, and it's the same with e-learning. So a number of factors from the start really through to the success at the end of the programme are sort of really important. And what we're going to sort of talk through now is some research that came from the Towards Maturity, and also that we've done with our learner network and with our staff and employees. And what we've found is, what we've looked at is what are the most important elements to get right. What things do we need to make sure are in place before you can learn? And typically people who have not learned with us say these sorts of things, which does support the Towards Maturity findings. And people say that they don't know enough about the course or the programme or what e-learning is, that they're not confident in using computers. And you'll have probably heard a number of these yourself firsthand. They're not confident in learning on their own, and I need a tutor there at all times in case I get stuck. I don't like e-learning. It's new, and I prefer us to be in a classroom, or let's do it as a group. And we've done this we did it face-to-face last year. Why are you giving us e-learning this year? People feel that they need a lot of support, and where's it going to come from if I'm talking to a computer? And really, I think it's about they're not really sure what they're trying to achieve. And why have we got this? What's the purpose of giving me this e-learning course? And I had that myself with a health and safety course that our company released to us way back at the start, and it was sort of sent to me by an email, you need to sit through this. And this was before we obviously learned all our lessons about what the issues were, and it was, well, I don't know why I need to do this. I'm not going to do it. And then you get emails that I haven't done this. But actually now when we release something, there's either a webinar introducing it or some face-to-face sessions if you're based in the office. There is a detail as to what you're going to get out of it, why we're doing it, what are the key learning things from it. So it's just about setting the scene really and what it's there for. So we'll talk about our LearnDirect experiences in sort of breaking through these barriers and ensuring them initial fears are addressed. And like I mentioned with my example, it's about getting people involved and trying it out, making sure they feel supported. And from our through our service centre, through Leicester, where people can learn solely online, that is the key factor, making sure that them learners feel supported, and making sure if they have stopped learning and we can see them stop learning, that we check and understand why have they stopped learning. And there's obviously some good reasons, but sometimes it's, well, I can't get onto the course. Well, we can break that barrier straight away and talk through that. And obviously the most important thing for us, and hopefully for everyone else, is that the learners complete their learning. They buy into it, they feel supported, and at the end of the day they succeed in what they're doing, whether it's a short hour course to a year-long apprenticeship program delivered online or by a blended solution. So we'll start with promotion, and I think building knowledge and confidence about what is being made available is the key thing. And what we've found both in our provider network, in supporting employers, getting their e-learning package out there, be creative, be visually engaging, really promote the fact that we are launching a new e-learning package. Don't just put it at the bottom of your intranet page that people won't look at, or don't just fire out a blanket email that says, we've got an e-learning course, click here to see what's on offer. Really sort of grab their attention and sort of say, we are invested in this, or we have now released this package of learning. So look, really promote it. Have the right messages and highlight the key benefits. And from a personal experience, that was the one that drew me in with our health and safety course. Initially, it was just there you go, do this, to the fact that now this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and these are the key things you'll learn from it. Deliver one or two key messages, and I can't overstate this one enough. When we first started, obviously, with our provider network, we would try and tell a learner that they're going to get 18 key points out of a particular course. Well, that's overwhelming for a learner, and that's overwhelming for a staff member. And we lost their attention, and success rates sort of dropped. When we started to focus on one or two key messages that it's going to pull out, it didn't seem such a monumentous task, I suppose. When you're launching it, launch it in places where people can see them. In the CAF, whether it's in the lift, we have something in our bathrooms in our head office that's just telling us about things in there. Put it on the intranet. Again, the intranet, if it's on the intranet, don't hide it away on screens that people don't visit. Put it on the opening page and sort of say launching, add screensavers, etc. And have a simple message of how to get involved, how to sign up, whether it's via a web address or whether it's contacting an individual or HR team. But I think overall the key thing is listen to your staff. Think about what your approach would be. Talk to them about the approach that you're going to take, and even talking through the approach at that early stage will ensure buy-in for your staff. And obviously, same for the learners, making sure that they understand and understand what you're trying to gain from this, and really build on that. Build on listening to your staff, listening to your learners as to how they're going to be involved in it.
Can I just ask you at this point, Gavin, you're talking about the buy-in of the learners there, but how important is it for you to get the buy-in of senior management to ensure that the learner, gets as much learning as they can?
Absolutely critical. And if you don't get the buy-in at that level, then it won't filter down. And if the manager's saying, oh, we're implementing this new scheme, but I preferred the old way last year, then it's going to have a knock-on effect. Learners aren't going to be engaged with it. Learners are going to be seeing the same mentality as what they're hearing, and that's natural, but it's making sure that, we talked about it earlier as one of the barriers, but making sure the buy-in from the L&D team or from whether it's the management, and yes, it's a hard sell to your management team, but getting that face time with them, getting them to see it, getting them to touch it, work with it, use it. Obviously, you perhaps start with the business benefits for the management level, but it can be done, and we have done it in many businesses which were very sceptical of, oh, we're not going to use this. Yes, we started small in that business, but now we've worked with businesses that have gone from little to no e-learning to a full e-learning offer, obviously supported with some face-to-face, with some workshop, but have now really grasped, wow, this can save us money, this can reduce our time and overheads and things like that. So yes, absolutely, great comment. It is buy-in from all levels, and it's not just top and learner, it's everyone in between, making sure that everyone has that buy-in. So we've looked at some of the barriers now, so I think what we'll start to is sort of look at some of the things that you can do to sort of break them barriers. And I think the first thing is making sure that the learner needs are addressed. The key thing is making sure what the learner's being put on is A, exactly what they need, and B, probably at the right time. The worst thing is to put them on a course, they've got no idea why they're doing it, and actually it's either at the wrong level and it's too hard, or it's that easy that they fly through it and get absolutely nothing from it. Our experiences show that sort of one of the most important elements is ensuring that people are motivated and complete their course, qualification, short little 1 hour course, long course, and we found that you sort of need to do the following, sort of broadly speaking, and obviously there's things where, but I think the key thing is about the initial assessment, and it's making sure that speaking to the learner first off, seeing what their current skills are, and actually recognising them. So recognise the prior learning that they've already got, because if they know half of the content, then they don't need to do that half of the content, and it's sort of off-putting for the learner if they're sitting through a load of content that they already know. So do an initial assessment, and when we first started with the network of centres and through the service centre, the initial assessment process probably wasn't as long as it should be, and we found out the hard way that this was not the best way, and we adapted quickly because our success rates were dropping off. We couldn't understand why, and it was because learners wasn't put on the correct program. They were, we'd done a short interview with them and then said, right, these are the courses you need. Now we do a detailed sort of initial assessment, and yes, it does take a lot of time, or not a lot of time, but a longer time than previous, but actually the success rates are a lot higher. The people complete the courses and people then understand this has sort of been custom built for me. Try and make the initial assessment as positive an experience as possible. It is one of the first parts of the learner journey, so if that's not positive, it sort of builds in that the rest of the experience might not be as, might be as a similar vein. So try and make it as positive as possible. Key thing is getting them on the right course and the right level, and I've sort of covered that, but making sure that it's the right course. Spend time to advise learners what their obligations are, and for longer programs, and this is one that we really found helped, is get commitment from them early doors and ask them to sort of think about committing to a number of hours per week. So they might say, well, we aim to finish it by 3 months' time, and actually the length of the course means that in order for you to finish it in 3 months' time means that you need to do 4 hours a week. And quantifying it in that way means actually 4 hours a week is too much when I've got other things on. I could probably do 2 hours a week. And then all of a sudden, okay, so that means it's going to be 6 months. So getting that buy-in and getting learners to understand that actually, if I only do 2 hours a week, it's going to take me 6 months. But if I could squeeze in another hour that week, all of a sudden, the time it's going to take me to get to it is going to decrease and work through it. But the learner is the focal point, and making sure that they're on the right program and you've assessed all of their needs is probably by far the key thing, because if they're on anything that's wrong throughout the course, then they will not succeed. They'll drop out, and your success rates and your motivation will be gone. So, getting started. So we've got some learners that we're looking at e-learning, and it's another obviously crucial element, certainly for us, is getting this right. Because if you get it wrong, if you just throw something out there, or it's the wrong content, or it won't work because of your IT systems, then there's obviously issues from the start. If you get it right, people will feel motivated and engaged. The key things that we've found that makes getting it right, or what helps in getting it right, is spending time to show the learners how to use it. And that doesn't mean the company that you've purchased your software from, or your e-learning materials, or that you've had custom built, shows your L&D department, they know how to use it, and then just throw it out to other staff. It's L&D staff understanding how it works. It's then them or someone else showing other staff how the software or how the materials work, because historically people have just put it out there, access this course here, good luck. It's really about making sure that they understand how it works and what it's going to do. Complement the induction with good visual resources to reinforce any key messages. So whether you've got wall displays up, whether you've got a short video or PowerPoint presentation, photos, storyboards, all the different things that you can do to try and get to launch this e-learning package, and launch with as big a bang as you can, obviously costs and resources with it. Use feedback and images, obviously with permission from former learners, to give new learners survival and I suppose study tips, and this will actually help calm nerves. We do a lot of case studies, and we send them out to our network of centres for them to put up around their centre. We give them to businesses for them to put them up in their training rooms. It does drive people to think, well, if they can do it, then I definitely can do it. So really sort of use them case studies and promote them case studies amongst other staff. Check learners' understanding of key induction elements, and this can be done in a variety of ways. There's a number of things that you need to do, obviously, to check understanding, but use quizzes, use different engaging things, word searches, multiple choice, anything that you can think of that would engage someone. And the other one that we did find worked well, certainly in the face-to-face environment, was group induction. This can be a positive experience, and they can actually see in that group induction that they're not alone. They're not the only one that's going to be going through this program, and actually that allows them to make friends and feel part of a sort of community that's going to be working through this course. And obviously that doesn't work for all learners. Some learners don't want to be part of a group induction, and it is about the individual. So but certainly I would say to get buy-in, get started, make sure that everyone understands why you're doing it and what the technology and what the courses are that you're going to be releasing. So, looking at support, so we've launched it, they're on the course, or we've got courses available, we've fully shown staff how to use it, they are working through it. The next thing that needs to be in place, and again this is something we've worked very, very hard to sort of refine and to make sure that at various stages of the journey, or at we have various touch points where people can actually either raise support ad hoc, or we will contact them to check. Obviously, things like not accessing and problems, we can pull up a support. But the support needs to come from a variety of ways, whether it's colleagues, whether it's a training team if you've got one. And the question earlier came up on this was about, but most importantly, it's the line management and it's the managers that need to buy into it and have that support. So it's no good just having a 2-hour session on a Thursday that you can use you can do your e-learning, and then that being taken away, and then the line manager asking, why haven't you done your e-learning? Because it's being taken away in all areas. So things to think about that we have done is certainly plan some workshops. We've done some in face-to-face. We've done specific ones to companies, and we do them either face-to-face or using the technology that we're using today. We use WebEx, and actually that has changed a lot of our, because it means we can support our network of centres even in different ways, and we can do reviews online, we can go through paperwork, and we can complete it on the call. And it's just looking at new ways, but it's really about the support that we can offer via that way. We also use that now in our service centre, where we'll do an ad hoc session with a group of learners to look at an area that they all may be stuck on, or that an individual is stuck on, and we can fire up an instant session, and straight away they're actually accessing it and seeing how it is. So think about how that's going to support the staff, and support the encouragement for learners, and they don't want to feel sorry that they're on their own and that they're having to deal with problems on their own. Put them support mechanisms in place. Offer specific surgeries. So I've talked about the ones that we do, but if you've got areas that everyone's struggling with, or you're sort of hearing it on your progress reviews that people are struggling, don't put these small surgeries on, whether it's face-to-face. Again, some of our companies are now really embracing technology and using webcams and showing other things like bricklaying and things being shown with a video camera and put online. And the other thing, I think the other two things I'll cover on support. One is about having a champion in that area. And I think that is a key thing, having a champion of someone that they can go to about the technical side of things, or someone's really good at this area. They can go, they can sort of, and that'll build motivation for both that staff member and others that are sort of speaking to them. And design and implement the option of a fast-track plan. It may well be that this is a 6-month program, but if a learner wants to complete it, or a staff member wants to complete it quicker, don't discourage that, but don't do the opposite. Don't try and squeeze a 1-year program into a 3-week window, because it's unachievable, the motivation will go, the course will fail. So there's some key things to think about there, but it's not just a case of launch the e-learning, let them go with it. They need them support and touch points as they're going through, and they can be done a variety of ways, and probably some more that we haven't covered in this particular session.
We've got
a question?
Yeah, we've got a
Sorry?
couple of, that's all right. We've got a couple of questions to follow now. Christopher asks Gavin, what have you found to be the most effective strategy for identifying at-risk learners, i.e. those who are most likely to be non-achievers?
And that goes straight back to the initial assessment and working with them from the start, understanding, finding out all their sort of barriers early on. And you won't find every single barrier in that first meeting, but you're speaking to them, really talking to them, talking about their, I mean, even the situations if they're working, if they're a shift worker, for example, they can't learn at certain points of the day, then there's barriers that can be broken. And I think the at-risk learners and the ones that, we run something what we call a consultation call. And initially that was a short call. That's now been moved to one of the bigger calls because it does help us to identify, realistically, are these going to achieve, are they going to achieve the course that they've been put on, or are they going to achieve within the date? What are the barriers? And we've started to look at why, if people drop out, why they drop out. I mean, some of them drop out because they get a job, which is great, don't get me wrong, but they can still continue. But there's a whole host of different ones. But it all comes back to the initial setup, the initial, and it's, if they're aware, if you've got the buy-in from the learner and you've got the understanding of their situation at that time, and then ongoing progress reviews to see how you're getting on, what are the issues, is there changing circumstances at home or at work that means that the course needs to change. So it's the initial stage, it's really the initial meeting with that, or meeting, telephone call with that learner.
Thanks, Gavin. And then we also have a question from Sheila, who wondered whether you have any ideas on making interactivity work within e-learning. I think you mentioned earlier using word searches.
Yep.
And she'd like to know if you have any other ideas.
Yeah. I mean, the e-learning that's out there now is a lot different to when we first started. One of the key things is multimedia. Video grabs people's attention straight away because they think, oh, I'm looking at a video of another learner doing this, or there might be a short video clip. Some of our courses show a short video clip, and then there's a series of questions that you can answer. There's lots of different tools out there for you to sort of, yes, you need some skills to help develop them, sort of like Captivate, for example. You can develop a short e-learning course. It doesn't need to necessarily be singing or dancing with bells and whistles on. It can just be a few things. Grab something out of a magazine and ask people to comment on it. We do it for maths. We'll pick a relevant magazine or an extract out of it and ask them to comment on the content and what they're trying to draw out of it. It's using up to many things, using a variety of different things. And I mentioned word search, but we use quizzes, we use drag and drop, we use match the one answer to the correct answer, or one statement to the correct answer. So I would say it's be as varied as you possibly can, because the more varied it is, the more engaging it is for that learner. And don't get stuck with the same one. Don't use three bits of screen technology, then a question, and so on. It's about mixing it up, and multimedia is probably the key one for that. So talking about motivation, we've talked about keeping them motivated, and we've talked about how we sort of get them engaged, but do hold regular progress meetings. Don't think, oh, well, I need to do a progress meeting because it's 3 months and you need a progress meeting. Don't do it because audit says so that you must have had or Ofsted, sorry, says so that you need to have had one every X amount of weeks. Do it to support your learners. And initially we did work to the minimum, and now it's totally based on the individual. We put in regular contact calls, we work with businesses, and we sort of say, well, we would like to contact them every 4 weeks. can we move that sooner and change that around, and really monitor progress, really check that they are going through, there's no stumbling block, because if you're meeting with them every 3 months and 2 weeks in they can't access the course, they're waiting 2.5 months to actually be able to speak to someone and say, I can't access it. If they're not forthcoming, obviously some learners will be forthcoming. Encourage learners and the manager to own the progress review process. Spend some time with them before the progress review to explain how they could prepare, get things ready, and make that progress review as positive as possible. And one thing that we do a lot with our businesses is report back to the managers, the employers, and make sure that they're aware of what they need to do and where their learners are and where they're moving on, where the progress is and where the failings are. And then it's sort of coming from us as a support side and their employer. So it's getting them from all angles, should we say. So keep them motivated, make sure that they're still learning. Yes, you've done the initial assessment, you've put them on the right course, but then it's about keeping them on that course and making sure that they're progressing well. So motivation is the key one. And then obviously at the very end of the journey is they've succeeded, they've done what they set out to do, and really celebrate that. Really do as many different things to celebrate that as you can. You might start off with a certificate for the work, a workplace certificate. Our company's just implemented Star Awards, and there's just a voucher that you can win at the end of each month, whereby to sort of really celebrate success, whether that's a good piece of work or whether that's actually they've completed e-learning and made, as a result, made a difference in certain areas because they've identified new things. Some of our providers, employers have Wall of Fame, which look good when you go in, and it's sort of motivation. Actually, I could be on that Wall of Fame. And obviously, different things work for different companies, but don't be afraid to, if one doesn't work, try a different one. Put something in your newsletter for your staff to see, actually, this person's completed their level 3 apprenticeship, which is a big feat at the end of the day, and really celebrate it, really see that as a company or as a training provider, you are really buying into the fact that we are really proud that you've completed your learning journey. Importantly, it is about celebrating the success, but it's also about making sure that people who haven't succeeded, looking at why they haven't succeeded, looking at things as to what's the reason for withdrawal. Set someone a task of monitoring why the success rates are low in this particular area, and really challenge people to see why people are dropping out. And yes, there'll always be that someone's got a job, or there's moved company, or the circumstances change, which means they can't do learning. And I think that will happen, but it's about the ones that drop out because, oh, I didn't know what I was doing, and it was boring, or I didn't enjoy it. So really celebrate the success, but really look at why people are dropping out. And I'll give you a couple of examples of sort of businesses that we've worked with that have succeeded. And a quote here, I think it's incredibly important to invest in your employees, especially in times like this. In a recession, you may not be able to give staff large pay rises, but you can often support them in their training and development. Through LearnDirect, we've been able to demonstrate to our staff how much we value them. And that's from Bertram Training in Norwich, and again from the Human Resource Officer. So there is, and I've got a whole host of these, but obviously due to time, I won't go through all of them. But there is success stories out there. There is a number of companies, a high number of companies, let's say now, compared to what it was, that are succeeding. And it is about doing all the things that we've sort of talked through in the session. So at the end of the day, and this is sort of my final slide before I sort of stop for questions, but at the end of the day, the goal is to have successful and happy learners. Yes, we want them to be successful, but we want them to have a pleasant learning experience. We want them to recommend e-learning, and we want them to continue to use it because it does bring massive benefits to both business, employers, learners, providers out there that are either looking to or expanding their e-learning department. Success does breed confidence, it increases knowledge and productivity, and learning with technology can really deliver business changes. And you'll see on the screen there's a number of our learners that have succeeded with LearnDirect. And actually, if I just talk about Dawn, just for 1 second, is in the bottom right. Dawn came in to us with a real entry level, sort of lower than entry level, and she was with us for a few years, but actually went on to achieve an MVQ in customer service. She's done a whole host of things and actually ended up with an MBE and now now works in a provider based in the Northwest. And we've got a whole host of success stories like that. And e-learning can bring that, but it's about implementing it and getting it right. And all the things that we've talked about, all the barriers that need to be broken, but thinking about it as a whole, as a group, as a team, and getting all people's buy-in, and it can work, and it is a great way of learning. So I think we'll pause there and stop for questions. But so we've got any questions? Yes, sorry. We're passing the microphone backwards and forwards.
I've got a question. What do you think are the new skills, mindsets, attitudes that L&D professionals themselves need to be able to successfully deliver e-learning?
I think that's a great question, and I think it is about a whole new mindset, and it is about actually understanding the e-learning. So it's not just a case of let's just pick up some e-learning and go with it. They need to understand it. Like if there was in a traditional learning room, they'd need to understand all the materials that they're going to be developing. E-learning is the same. They still need to understand it. Yes, it takes away some of the onus in terms of it will teach as it goes through, but you'll still need to be prepared to support the learner when they come stuck from where. So it is about buying from everywhere in the business, but it is about understanding it and understanding and making sure that, because if they don't buy into it from the start and they're just pushing it out there, it will fail. And that's firsthand. We've done it and we've learned from it. Buying from the beginning, understanding your materials and being able to support the materials will mean that it's a successful implementation, as we say.
Well, thank you very much, Gavin. Our webinar is now drawing to a close. Oh, but I see that Liam has got a question here, and he's asking, what is the average price for an e-learning course?
Our courses, I mean, they range from around £3 or £4 for a real short course up to, I couldn't give you the top figure, but I know some of the courses are near about £200, but they are for a technical certificate in C++ programming, something that I don't even really know what it is, but they are very, and obviously a lot of these courses are linked to qualifications, and you'll come out with a certificate at the end, but there's a whole range. There's a whole range of prices, and we work with companies and sort of build packages, same as other providers out there that will build packages specifically to meet them needs. So it's not the case that you must buy this whole range. You can tailor your learner journey and tailor what materials you want to buy, or what materials you need for your staff. So compliance, time management skills. We've got a lot on personal, social development. There is a whole host, and we've got over 250 courses in our portfolio now. So I hope that answers your question, Ian.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And thank you very much for your very interesting
Thank you very much for having us.
presentation, Gavin. I hope you've all enjoyed it and now have some useful pointers for breaking down the barriers in your own organisation. I look forward to welcoming you to another webinar in the future. Thank you very much.
Just before we go, sorry, my contact details are on the screen if anyone wants to contact me after this webinar. Otherwise, thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day and weekend as it's Friday. Thank you.